Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Modern Market. This is our daily show from Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. GMT, every day of the week, where we discuss all things to do with the bull market. That is the bull market, the NFT bull market, and the coin bull market, and other things to do with the internet too. I'm your host, Bchek. I'm joined by my legendary co-host, Legendary, and we've got another show all about the bull market. But before we get there, as a reminder, nothing that we say is financial advice. We do not know anything for sure. We do not even know for certain if it is a bull market. So please proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, how are you doing this Wednesday, the 15th of November?
GM, got a bit excited about the Jupiter airdrop that is going around, or more precisely, the Jupiter airdrop checker that
Make
has
it
been
sound like an
posted.
illness. It's like, oh yeah, the flu is going around at the moment. Everyone's catching it. Just the Jupiter airdrop's doing its rounds around the
Yeah,
various
it's
around crypto
it's
Twitter.
catching various wallets in the Solana ecosystem, in the Solana world. But I had a look at our airdrop tutorials, man, and actually we did cover Jupiter back in September 2022, so like more than a year ago, when we had our first exploration of Solana for our community. That's pretty cool that we got that one early on.
I agree, but guess
And we
what?
literally said Jupiter doesn't have a token yet. Took a year to become true, but hey, there we
But
are.
guess what? Guess what? Like 6 people cared. 6 to 10 people cared really, really a lot. A few more people cared, and we're like in the business of, well, we have a bunch more token holders who were actually participating maybe quietly. And then there's a few people who have really cared. And even in the deep depths of the bear market, still were kind of chatting, being smart about trying to stay active across wallets and across chains and across protocols. But that's the kind of patience you need in this space. And Legendary is about to, I don't know if you're going to say the number of points that you've got or whatever, whether that, how many dollars that equates to. But the type of patience you need is to see a tutorial in September 2022 and think, yeah, do you know what? Maybe at the end of next year, my random transactions on this protocol might be worth something. That's the kind of patience you need. And 99% of people in our literal experience of doing tutorials for almost 2 years dip out at some point in time because they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. It's a little bit too much patience required. But Legendary, tell just people about Jupiter, because you've just said Jupiter. What is it? And how bad should they feel for not having done the tutorial?
We love the second question.
And
it is
while you do that, I'm going to try and find my old wallet and check if I got
yeah,
any. I should
sent you the link, right?
Yeah.
It is a DEX aggregator on Solana. And I think the point with that is that, like, you often get in the habit to keep using the same tools. Just how many people that I know, whenever they need to swap something on Ethereum, they just would go to Uniswap, which I find like the biggest waste of potential. Because if you need to do a swap either way and you just keep using Uniswap all the time, who already had the token airdrop like ages ago, the better strategy just would be to have a series of 4 or 5 DEXs that you use that don't have a token yet, and just speculate that they might do that, because you need to do the transaction either way. And there's no point to in using a protocol that has done an airdrop yet from a like opportunistic perspective, instead of going with something new. And I think having that in mind and like being conscious that you need to break out of an old habit that you've like gotten used to, that Uniswap is your go-to exchange or whatever, is what makes it more challenging. And then it also, as you said, it takes like a lot of patience. And this is good on the other hand, because so many people don't have that patience and they only care about airdrops when a big airdrop is happening and forget it like 1 week later. That just makes the competition lower, as opposed to if everyone would perfectly execute on those airdrops, because then they wouldn't be worthwhile any longer.
Yeah, that is the perfect thesis. If you need to understand what is going on with airdrops, that's what it is. Why, given that you're in this decentralized space and you understand that these protocols want to try to decentralize, which basically means they want to give you tokens at some point in time, which for whatever reason, trade at a value, it's, you know, that gives you the opportunity to take your business where you are most incentivized. Now, of course, there are some risks with that, right? Like there can be smart contract risks. This is not to say that it's some perfect universe where you can provide liquidity and dump your ETH or any money into any place at any time and think, right, I'm going to get that token. Like there are risks involved, so you've got to be smart about it. But I like that as a way to explain it. And typically, Legendary, something that I've noticed after doing it for quite some time is that there's certain types that are always the most high value. So like big protocols where there's big volume, whereas bridges, like, so because what we do a lot of bridging as well, right? We bridge to ZK Sync, bridge to Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, all of these other places. The bridge ones I've found in the last year or so haven't been so compelling. But when you have the L2 drops, they're the big ones. They're the ones that like really hit all the big protocols. So when Arbitrum dropped, obviously that was a big one. Expect ZK Sync to be a big one if it does indeed drop. And then protocols like, I mean, everyone in the NFT world who spends more time focusing on the JPEGs will be aware that obviously Blur was a very big one. And so Jupiter, if it is kind of the Solana equivalent, oh no, sorry, Jupiter isn't the NFT trading platform. Jupiter's
No, it's a DEX aggregator.
yeah, it's the DEX one. So I guess that was
To be the 1-inch exchange.
yeah. So the exchanges are also big ones, right? Because there's a lot of volume. There's a lot of volume driven through those places. So I've just checked Legendary on the wallet that I just kind of created recently. When it says it says I am eligible for the Jupiter, but how do I know how much? I don't know.
You don't know how much, but you have a volume. Like it aggregates the volume that you did on that wallet.
Is that my volume in dollars?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. I only had that for a week. So that's quite good. I think that might actually be higher than my other one because I didn't actually use Solana that much back in the day. I used it to play around with stuff. I was experimenting a little bit. But I've just been using Solana and maybe Jupiter in the last couple of weeks. So I don't know, maybe I snuck in with a cheeky.
No, back then I was
points.
massively into Star Atlas, which was
Oh yeah, you played the game.
No, I didn't play the game. There was no game to play. There was Web3 gaming a year ago. You were buying spaceships for 4 figures, 5 figures, 6 figures, and you imagined how cool it would be once you have the game with Unreal Engine 5.
That's part of the game. That's part of the game.
And yeah, and then you staked. Of course, there was a staking, and and then I think you had to repair the ships, and they also needed supplies so that they could do something. I mean, they weren't doing anything because there wasn't like even an animation going on, but you just played the soft staking game, and this caused me to actually have to do quite a lot of transactions to keep the supplies going and everything. So I got to a good volume on a couple of wallets where I did that.
Nice. That's cool. Well, that's good news, I guess, and good that we were close to it. What, more than a year ago now? Hopefully you're paying attention. Hopefully people are paying attention. We try to share things which are useful, but often things that don't work out as well, and things which might work out, but taking a long view. In general, I would say the things where you're forcing it, trying to get something really, really quickly, that's where things tend to break down. But let's get into the show. Let's get into the show in just a second. But before we do that, as always, please do retweet the spaces if you can. You can click the comment button in the right-hand corner to do that. Help us out, get more people in here. And as always, if you want to follow along with the headline news of the day, you can do so in the snapshot up top. Please do like it if you find that it brings you some value today. So let's get into the price action first, starting with, oh, wow, that's the wrong, hang on a second. Hang on just 1 second. Present screen, window. There we go. Okay, let's do it. Let's get into the price action first. We've got Bitcoin down a couple of percent at 35.8, ETH down a few percent at 2K, Solana up 9%. Wanted to buy some more yesterday and it just kept going up. 59.6 up 9%. Ape down a couple of percent at 1.4. NFT volume at a total of 14.3 million. Blur at 9.3. OpenSea at 3.3. The headlines for the day is that Disney runs NFTs back with Dapper. Steve, aka NFT Bark, who's in the audience, took this little bit of context from his helpful tweet yesterday. The magical multinational mass media conglomerate is partnering with Dapper Labs on Disney Pinnacle, a digital version of the popular Disney pin collectibles. That is pretty big news. Want to get into that in a second. Number two, 9DCC announces powered by 9DCC, co-create to bring physical products with digital experiences. Want to get into that a little bit as well. That's obviously done by G Money. And then next, there's just a bunch of coins that keep going up. This is a random list. We're going to talk about a variety, some of which I hold, some of which I don't. Want to talk about a mixture later on, but they keep continuing to run. And we're going to get into why that may be in a little bit. Getting into the floor prices and the top sales, we have CryptoPunks down a couple of percent at 57.2, Bored Apes down 3% under 30 ETH at 29.5, Mutants at 5.6, DGods at 3.3, Captains up 10% at 4.8, probably because Meme was going on a crazy run. Azuki's at 6, Penguins at 5.2, Moonbirds at 2, and Nouns at 24 ETH. We've got a couple of notable sales. One, CryptoPunks Rosy Cheeks selling for 71 ETH, which is $141,000. And a Bored Ape selling for 69 ETH. That is $137,000. It's been a while since the Bored Apes have been right at the top of the kind of daily sales charts. So it's good to see that back there too. Legendary, those are the headlines. That is the price action. What are you liking there? What numbers are standing out to you?
I mean, quite a few numbers are standing out, but I think especially from the A, Solana again, but B, on the other hand, Meme is absolutely crazy. Meme hitting 4 cents yesterday and now being like 3.8 cents. I mean, I know we're going to get into that a bit later, but that's absolutely insane.
Do you think we need to start doing Solana NFTs?
Yeah. I mean, I'd quite like it, but I've also been thinking, and this is not an easy question in my opinion, is should we include Flooring Labs?
Yeah, I mean I definitely need to figure out how to do.
It's not really NFT trading volume, like trading volume on OpenSea or Blur. It's not exactly the same, but it's becoming so big. But I don't know, like you can't like compare it directly to OpenSea and Blur, but I feel like it's becoming a relevant platform. It already is a very relevant platform, so I'm not so sure about that one.
Yeah, you're right. Because I was in the Flooring Labs Discord earlier, and I was asking, how do I vault this captain of mine? Like, I want to stick it in. What do I need to do? And the reason why I didn't understand the process was because you have two options. You can say put the captain in what's it called? The safe box. So you can do that. That was really confusing. I didn't really understand that one. And it seemed quite expensive. Or B, the other option is sell the captain at floor. So I guess the reason why I didn't understand that, because I think what I thought was, well, I'm just going to put my captain into the vault. Like, where's that option? How do I just put the captain in? But I guess in order to put it into the vault, you need to sell it for the U captain's tokens, and that's why the option is sell at floor. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. You can do what you just said. That's true, but in order to put it in the safe box, you need to have FLC tokens staked.
Yeah, but the safe box is different to the vault.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the safe box. Then forget it.
Yeah.
The vault is exactly what you said. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. So basically, that volume, so I'm basically agreeing with your point and just explaining why that is. The reason why there's a bunch of volume there is because people are selling their captains, but really, like, when I'm doing that, I'm not really selling my captain. Like, that's not why I'm exchanging them for those tokens. Like, I definitely want to be able to redeem back for it if I do that. So I agree with you. Maybe it's not kind of real volume in that sense. So actually, maybe on reflection, not worth including. But the Solana NFTs, I think I don't know. It could be worth it. Like I bought a Mad Lads yesterday as we were kind of discussing it, and it was expensive. Like I just basically had no idea how expensive they were, and it's as expensive as a Moonbird, basically. Should we just take Moonbirds off and stick Mad Lads in? I mean, I know you have a Moonbird, so maybe you wouldn't be happy with that.
Oh no, like I told you, I'm open to including them, and I don't think we need to take Moonbirds off. But having at least some of the top Solana projects, why not? Would make a lot of sense.
We do have to take them off, mate, because there's no space on the graphic. The graphic is the determining factor in the snapshot of how
Well,
many things.
that's a fair point.
Could take nouns off, but nouns are kind of cool because it's this weird just a stranger ecosystem, a bit quirky, strange dynamics with auctions and things like that. So it's cool to monitor as well. Moonbirds might get cut, man. It might get cut, but I don't know. We'll think about it. I have been thinking though we need to try to get some Solana reporting going on because I think it's probably going to be relevant, or it is relevant right now, and then I think it probably will be moving forward.
As long as you don't put OK bears in and I get depressed when I see the current floor, I'm gonna be fine.
That's fine. Jack, your hand is raised. What's your thought on whether maybe you've got something to say on the whether we should include Solana NFTs or something else on the price action we've just been talking about? You are not on mute, but I can't hear you, Jack. I don't know if anyone else can.
I can't hear him either.
Okay. Jack, you might have to drop down or maybe even leave the space and come back up, and then we will get to you in just a moment. Yes. So let's just keep talking on the kind of the prices. We might as well roll into the coin discussion, Legendary. Solana, Prime, Meme, Rollbit, Tia, which I think is the Celestia airdrop, which was dropped the other day. All been running. What are you thinking about maybe starting with Meme and Solana? Because those are the ones we've kind of touched on already. What are your thoughts there?
Man, meme, we had the whole discussion on it yesterday, and I think we talked a lot about the intrinsic value and everything, but just the continuous hype on it and the demand to push it to 4 cents is I can't explain. I mean, it's close to getting into the top 100 coins on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko by market, by market cap, not by FTV.
Yeah, it's 155 right now.
Did you have a better theory than I have?
I mean, I saw someone quite prominent. I can't remember the guy's name. Someone quite prominent yesterday tweeting that basically you can't fade Ray, and it's the usual stuff. The usual stuff where you can't fade this particular founder, and you have a community of people who are hell bent on pumping this price to the moon. That's ideally what you want to invest in, and that's what some people thought that this, or feel like this is becoming in some capacity. And having said that, I was in the Discord, and it did seem like there was a reasonable number of people who are quite disgruntled as well. I wouldn't say that it was like unanimous, everyone's super happy, like let's pump this to the moon. There was definitely a reasonable contingent who were like, where's the airdrop? When's it going to come? Because I think there were a bunch of people, how they split out all the different airdrop recipients. You have captains who are going to get this allocation, then the rest are going to come in a non-linear fashion over 2 years. You had fire sale people who maybe got a little bit up front, but they're getting theirs like daily, actually. Then you've got these other types of farmers. My understanding is that there's these other types of farmers who might have been doing various other tasks, and they were expecting to get their airdrop soon as well. However, there's been this issue with bots on Twitter, and so they haven't been able to get to that amount. And so those people are like a little bit more disgruntled because they want to get their airdrop like ASAP, and they're not getting it at the moment. So I wouldn't necessarily say it was like a group of people that were just completely united, gunning for the highest market cap and sending it to the moon immediately. I think there are some people in there that, want to get theirs sooner rather than later. But I mean, I just think we're going into this type of market at the moment, and we've been saying it for a while, where things are going to start. If they don't make sense already, I mean, maybe this was one of my last reflect. Like yesterday, I was doing a whole bunch of re-evaluation of all of my assets. I've actually started selling a bunch of stuff that I wanted to sell as well, and trying to, because I want to buy a couple of other things before, if we, before we get into any type of more crazy market. But like, if you think about the amount of people who are around right now, and if it's getting this stupid already, then there's just no one here at this point in comparison to before. So I don't know. I'm trying to left curve it and just think there's no one here. The price is going up now. Yes, something might be up 10%. Yes, something might be up 15%. And like, look, guys, this is not a strategy which is, you know, this is a dangerous strategy to see 20% up and press the green button. But it just feels, or at least it has done in the last week or so, that one of my lines of thinking is it doesn't really matter if it's green or red at the moment, because there's not that many people here. And if we're trending up anyway and more people get attracted into it, then we just go higher. That's just one of my lines of thinking. Legendary, want to hear your thoughts on that very simplistic, hyper simplistic perspective of how to invest. And then Jack, I think hopefully we should be able to hear you now. So we'll come straight to you.
No, I think you're perfectly right, because yes, you might say that is a simplistic perspective to take, but one of the conclusions that I did arrive to is when we talked about Solana, not moving away from meme, but just to explain the concept, and we talked about the relative lows, which is not something you just talked about, but for the reason of the explanation, right? People buy Solana because it is more multiples away from its all-time high than Bitcoin and ETH. And that is the investment thesis. And I personally, as much as I also love buying Solana, I just think that this investment thesis is absolute bullshit. And if you were to look at stocks like that and be like, oh, this company has been at an all-time high of, I don't know, WeWork's been at an all-time high of this and that, and now they're almost bankrupt, or they filed for bankruptcy, and the stock is discounted by 90%. So that's a cheap one to buy. I know this comparison is not perfectly accurate, but like, in my opinion, this is a very weak investment thesis. But my conclusion is that my opinion doesn't matter at all. The only thing that matters is the narrative that the market is telling itself. And if the majority of the participants love that thesis and they love to go for relative lows as a strong investment case for Solana, then this will be the dominating narrative, and this will lead more people to buy and pump it. And similar for meme, if the don't fade ray, plus it is the number one meme because it is called meme, plus it's trading on Binance, etc. If that in a narrative that convinces many people can't be complex, it has to be simplistic, right? It has to be simple, that you can easily understand it. And saying, hey, meme is the perfect meme coin because it's called meme. And look, they had no expectations in either 3 billion, 2 billion, whatever FTV. And if they're now going to start to deliver things, despite saying, there's nothing to expect from it, then it will do amazingly well, because look what it already did without any expectations by people and official communication. So I think you're perfectly right to go for that simplistic argument, because it takes something that's emotional and simple to craft a convincing bullish narrative around whatever asset at the end of the day.
Yeah, so this was the tweet I had in mind. I just found it by Andrew Kang. I don't actually know them personally, but seems well followed. Said meme is doing a great job as a bellwether. Literally will be first name people think of when people look for meme coins. Founders have cultivated massive global audience with help of 9gag brand. No roadmap, no promises, just a community whose sole goal is to meme the coin to infinity. This launch bodes well for other blue chip NFTs that have yet to launch their tokens. That was that. I think we've kind of discussed that already. Jack, did you have any further thoughts on that, or did you want to bring it back to the Solana price action and whether their NFTs should be involved in the greater discussion a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it makes sense on the Solana side. I do think when you're looking at market caps that rival the ETH projects at this point when the thing is absolutely ripping. Slight tangent. Really not liking MetaMask right now. They stopped me transferring some ETH. Just transactions got stuck like significantly a couple weeks ago into Sol at breakpoint, and that's now cost me around $3,000 in just like me then not following that up and trying to get onto the
Gosh.
and do it at home. So thanks MetaMask for that one. But yeah, I think look, Mad Lads, it's funny, I don't know what they're doing, but they're clearly top dog at the moment. I really like Claynosaurs. I think they're very interesting. I know they did a huge event at Breakpoint that a lot of big people went to, and yeah, they just seem to like. If you look at their animations, they definitely seem to be able to execute at a level that you would expect of ETH projects as well. So yeah, there's a bunch of projects on there, and that seems to be doing very very well, even as Sol rips faces off. And I think that's like incredibly interesting to see Sol literally basically just tearing faces off left, right, and center, and the projects behind them still retaining that floor. It does definitely seem to be worth including those into that list.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the price action on Sol. And this is the thing, there is always a point in time where the value, when the coin goes up so rapidly, yes, we've been through that phase where that means that sometimes the NFTs go down as in response to the rapid appreciation of the token. But sometimes it just makes people feel rich, and it just makes people want to spend and get into the projects which are the top dogs of that particular ecosystem. Like, and so I guess whichever ones are the top in Solana right now, as people become more affluent, if the price continues on its current trajectory, then I guess those are the ones that will be targeted, unless there are new projects which come through to get people's attention. Um, so yeah, very, very interesting takes there. Legendary. Any final thoughts on that or meme coin? I just wanted to touch on some of these other coins. In fact, just any other thoughts on all the coins, Legendary, because they're all going up. I've mentioned a few other ones in the snapshot. Um, the context that I provided in the snapshot was from D Farmer, where he said, sorry, that's the snapshot, not from today. This is the one. He said yesterday that he woke up to funding that was almost neutral and a decent chunks of liquidation. Not enough for my liking, but we're getting close. And I think later in the day, he felt a bit more comfortable. D Farmer is a very prominent trader. What do you make of when people are analyzing the funding situation? I think it is when people are excessively long on particular assets, and then people try to gauge like, okay, well, people are betting a little bit too much at the moment. It means we're probably going to pull back because people's greed is kind of taking over. How do you think about it with respect to where we are in coins? And do you ever look at that type of stuff yourself?
At funding rates, it's not really something I look at specifically, but that's not because I don't think that it's not an interesting KPI to look at, but more so because I'm just a terrible coin trader, and I had to admit that to myself a couple of times in the past. So I just do try to stay away from short-term coin trading, and this is why funding rates, how leveraged the market is, and all that doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
So I can't say anything intelligent on the current situation of the funding rates.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I remember we were having a conversation after the show yesterday or the day before, and you made that admission that you're just a terrible coin trader. I've definitely said that about myself as well before. There's something about NFTs that just made me way better at it. I understood it more, the artistic component of it. It just felt way more natural to me to understand. And I was definitely better at it. Having said that, um, I have found that I'm trying to understand it a bit more, even though I'm not as good at it. But it's something to be aware of as we enter what might be a more bullish cycle, to try to reflect on where you are on a personal level. Like, what are you actually most best at? Because there'll be so many things going on. And I already feel like we're in that moment. That's why we had that conversation the other day where I was like, I'm feeling quite anxious going into this crazy period because I feel like there's too much on, there's so many opportunity, just like trying to narrow it down and be like, look, this is what I'm bad at. Just don't worry about it, forget about it. It doesn't matter if it goes up, just leave it to one side. This is what you're good at, focus on that. And actually, to some extent, after I've cleared up the wallet and after I've just sorted out a few things, I kind of want to just be able to sit allocated and then focus on the business, frankly, because I think that's one of the things that we're good at. And yes, we can do some NFT stuff, but once I'm kind of prepared and properly sorted out, then it kind of just allows you to focus on what you're best at and properly take advantage of any upside in the future. Thoughts on that,
And
Legendary, before we move on?
that's so important, right? To know what your focus is. You also spoke about that in relation to the recent deals that you closed, punching above your weight as a smaller creator because you're focused and you know what your niche is. And I think that also applies for trading. One last point, the irony of that is, I'm talking about the fact I'm not a good coin trader, see myself rather as an NFT trader, but literally the background on my Apple Watch is the ETH chart that I look at all times. So I don't know, there's still that degen in me.
Yeah, you can't be perfectly detached, right? You're always going to be attached to the base currency, I think. Right, let's get into the other headlines today. The first major one being that Disney is going to be releasing some digital pins for collecting and trading on Disney Pinnacle. It looks like their own platform this time. You're going to have IP such as Disney, picks from Disney, Pixar, and Star Wars. It'll be operated by Dapper Labs, and it's an official licensee of Disney. I know that Sammy is on stage with us. He wrote a thread which went viral, including being shared by the Disney account themselves. So that's great. Would love to hear from his thoughts on it in just a moment. But Legendary, your first thoughts on this uh, Disney venture before I give mine?
I might left curve it, but I'm not as excited as everyone else seems to be about the Disney Pinnacle deal. Multiple reasons for that. So we had those stages in the past where we said, Coinbase NFTs will be our exit liquidity. Top Shot expanding from just basketball to football, NHL, and other things. And this, if so many people are hyping up a big name joining the space, it gets me a bit cautious about that. And also the fact that it's operated by Dapper Labs. I mean, I collected Top Shot and love everything about them, but they still have that pending class action lawsuit going on in the States where it is still to be defined if they're securities or not. So they still have that basically pending doom that they need to deal with. So for those reasons, I am not as excited as everyone else about Disney Pinnacle.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. The reason why there's a way to left curve it, and then there's a way to think about it too much. My criticism of it would be that I thought we'd done this already. I thought this was what Vivi was. We kind of spoke about Vivi on the show the other day. There was all kinds of Disney IP in there, along with other IP as well, Marvel and all kinds of other things. Again, that was on a kind of slightly different blockchain. I think they then moved over to Immutable, but I thought it was kind of done. And I appreciate these are pins instead of more broader NFTs. Maybe they want to do it themselves. So,
And
yeah, I
one
guess.
more thing, it was, sorry for cutting you off, but one more thing was Recur, which had the lovely name Recur Forever. It's actually tomorrow is the day that you will have to withdraw all your NFTs, cash everything, because they're shutting down forever. We had the same, remember the morning show where Recur was on, where, everyone got excited about Nickelodeon, potentially SpongeBob, etc. And they completely closed shop. And we had the same theory. If it's going to get to all those brands and well-known shows, it will pump the market, drive mass adoption, etc. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to shit talk the project because I don't know what they will be doing, but I'm just very cautious with my excitement at the moment.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it could be cool. I think they've definitely got the potential for it to be cool. The only confusing thing to me is that when people are distributing across like loads of different platforms and blockchains, it'd be nice for whichever team to be able to find a home and then really build out with those partners in one go. That's my kind of initial thought, but I'm actually kind of excited by it. I do think it's cool. I do think it has the potential to be really cool. And I think if they do it well, I don't think it really necessarily matters that it's on Dapper Labs where Top Shot has happened. Hopefully there's a lot of learnings from that and they can actually make a better experience this time. But we'll see how that goes. Sammy, your hand is raised. I said you'd written a really good and helpful thread on it so far. Do you just want to provide any other context that you think we may have missed and give us your thoughts on the announcement?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that first time it's happened. So you've obviously got VV, you've got Cryptoids. I think I'm more interested in the fact it's collectibles. So you've got these pins that are, I mean, I hadn't really heard of them before, but I looked into it. And some of these pins sell for 10, 20 grand a piece. Now you go down the angle of tokenizing original ones, putting them on chain, but also there could be the opportunity to have these digital twins, so a digital equivalent that opens up a raft of opportunities to get to know like Disney's customers a little bit more. So I know that it is a licensing arrangement, so I don't know to what extent Disney's active, but I mean, they've had a couple of cracks at the whip with VV. I don't think it was necessarily that successful. They had an interesting AR, so augmented reality element to it. But I think this has probably been in the pipeline for some time. You had you had like a head of metaverse job posting a number of years ago. So it's not to say that they aren't trying to do something with NFTs. And if you look at the number of patents that they're going through and being filed, I mean, it gets quite interesting. You can see some pretty creative stuff being done with NFTs. So it's not to say that they haven't done their research. I think they're just biding their time and waiting for the opportune moment to enter the market. And it's probably just testing the water a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. That's interesting. I didn't realize. So are there a bunch of physical versions of these digital pins that have already established themselves as highly collectible items?
Yeah, so there's lots of different pins that I guess are associated to specific moments in time or collections or whatnot. But I think there's collections of maybe 100 pins, for instance, that sell for about, I think the most expensive I saw was around about 11 grand just for a single pin. So there's people buying and selling them. And I think the issue with the collectibles market is there's a barrier to entry with trading these things. So you could unlock this global liquidity that people end up like being able to find that buyer or seller more easily, which could be pretty interesting. And having that transparent global single order book that people can refer to find fair market value a lot more efficiently. And I guess that's kind of why I'm more interested in it.
Yeah, I think that would be very cool. I definitely don't. I'm not sure that would be, well, that's certainly not one of the things that they've stated up front. I don't think, because they said that they're going to be collecting and trading digital pins. But I agree with you that I think people would love that type of a marketplace. And I actually spoke to a protocol yesterday who are doing similar things, right? They're just providing an opportunity for real world collectors to send their stuff in, get it vaulted, and then have that turned into an NFT, put on the blockchain, and so that it can access global liquidity, and maybe you can take a loan out against it or do various things with it from that perspective. So I think that could be a really interesting potential next solution. Sammy, any thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, I mean, I've seen forecasts that they're predicting the collectibles market specifically is going to be worth about $1 trillion by 2030. I think 4KT Protocol have got some stats and that it's around about a 400 million market now, with like stamps, for instance, are about 30 billion. Sorry, stamps are about 30 billion. You've got, I think even Pokemon trading cards are around about the 4 billion mark. So there's clearly value there that just needs to be unlocked. And I think this blockchain is probably going to be a pivotal thing that's going to catalyze that to get to the $1 trillion market cap. So
yeah, I like it. I think that's definitely a huge market. That's partly why I'm kind of partnering with NFT lending protocols, because I think it's just going to be the future of finance in some way. We're going to be unlocking global liquidity for so many more types of assets moving forward. So definitely interested when the conversation kind of gets taken in that direction anytime. Legendary, any final thoughts on Disney? We
Yeah.
just gone.
Had a quick scroll through the comments to see what some people in the audience are thinking. Riggs says he collects pins, but in caps lock, he won't touch these. And Raheem referenced you mentioned Vivi before, and he said Vivi was garbage in his opinion because the immutable ecosystem was way too complicated.
Interesting. Vivi, and we also had on YouTube NFT aficionado saying 9,646 followers on X is not exciting. Selling the Disney name into tokens does not excite us. Once again, agree with Legendary. The only thing I would say in response to that and some of the other points is that if you cast your mind back to Vivi, it also started with like not many followers. And I think we are wired now when we check particular accounts to go to the follower number, check their socials. Like they've just started this. They've just started this one. So I don't think that would be something to kind of beat them over the head with. It takes time to build those things up. But yeah, I understand the other difficulties because maybe the execution in other ways wasn't perfect the first time round. Let's move on. Should we go into? We'll do the Web3 roundup. We'll get into the news from the Creator Corner to bring you up to speed with what else has been going on in the space, and then we will finish off with the final headline and maybe any other news if we have time for it. So, getting into the snapshot, as always, the roundup is in the snapshot up top. We have number one, Beeple announcing an everyday NFT winning prize for solving human one clues. He said that this Human One update contains 5 hidden words that unlock a wallet with an everyday NFT. Definitely go to his account to check that out if you are interested. Number 2, Fingerprints DAO mints out a project Panopticon by Tito for 0.19 ETH. The floor falls to 0.11 ETH. That's the second art mint in a couple of days that has come out at around floor price and then fallen significantly after. Feels like flippers are in the market at the moment. Next, blockchain.com exchange and wallet provider raises $110 million. Next, PayPal write an article on why they support crypto. This was a kind of cool one where they say the answer is a practical one. Crypto gets us closer to what people desire, which is fast, cheap, and global payments. Interesting comments there from PayPal. Getting into the Creator Corner, we have just 2 pieces of news today from me. Jack Butcher revealing his first generative art collection. So this is going to be part of the Velocity Pass. And so it was announced by Art on the Internet. And he said, this is the Genesis Generative Art Collection by Jack Butcher. It's via the Art Blocks engine. And he actually corrected himself and said there's going to be 2 collections. So he said initially Generative Art Collection, but there's going to be 2. So very interesting to see what that means for Jack Butcher's work. And finally, the William Mapan, a little update on that auction with Verse. It has 1 day left. It's got a 2K high bid so far. And that's ending a little bit later tomorrow. That's it from the Web3 Roundup and the Creator Corner. Legendary, do you want to get into the final headline?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let's get into the 9DCC announcement. The post was announcing powered by 9DCC, a new way for brands, creators, and organizations to tap into network products. And the takeaway is that partners can now co-create with 9DCC to develop and bring physical products to life with proven and engaging digital experiences. And this will enable creators, labels to establish connections with the community's consumers by leveraging the 9DCC and G-Money's ecosystem that he has been building. That's actually one of the news that I'm pretty excited about. Because we spoke about the phygital experiences connecting digital and physical on the modern market quite often. And there's already a couple of platforms who are trying to do that and are currently fighting for market share. I think we spoke about that in one of our other spaces as well. And I do think that if this will become a standard in fashion, that you will have physical products with a digital authentication layer or just a digital experience connected to them, there's going to be someone who will dominate that market and will dominate that market share. And I think G-Money is doing tremendously well building 9DCC. And for those reasons, I just think that's an exciting piece of news.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm trying to understand it more precisely to see what this offering is to the community. My understanding is the networked product aspect of it. I'm just on their website now. It says that it's the bridge between digital and physical, living and breathing on provenance, proof of ownership, proof of 9DCC. So I guess how is it that the partners are able to tap into the networked product? Because obviously 9DCC create their own clothes, and I believe they have digital versions of their own stuff. So I guess, is it just like bringing other brands in, kind of like how Artblocks has an engine, and it's like, look, if you want to use our infrastructure, then come in and use it because we have it already. Is that the kind of vibe?
I mean, probably, yeah. And probably also, if you then have partnered up with multiple labels to do that, then you can see if you can use some synergies between them, have co-creations, collaborations between those labels, brands, etc. So I do think that that line of thinking is correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because I'm looking here, it says, look, physical product launches require significant resources. I was actually listening to the morning show yesterday. They were talking about this. It's like, if you have one particular type of business, you can't just, and I think people think about this quite flippantly in general. They're just like, oh, let's do a hoodie, or let's do a hat, or let's do whatever. It's just a whole different thing to what you normally do. Like the way that you make money, your expertise, your skill set. You can't just say, let's go and make some other stuff. It's like, yes, you can, but it's going to really take a lot of time and effort and consideration. And that's going to then be, that's going to sit against all of the other things that you need to do to operate your normal business. So this, I guess, is in response to that feeling where they know that lots of Web3 projects are looking for ways to provide quality physical products with as part of their offering. And so they want to provide that partnership. So what they've said is physical product launches require significant resources, operational excellence, and a global supply chain, which is true because think about our space in particular. We're all over the place, absolutely all over the place. So that's difficult for a team to get this stuff everywhere. They say currently there are limited options facilitating the creation of physical products built on blockchain technologies. And so 9DCC has built trust in Web3 for exceptional execution, high quality products. So now you can tap into our experience, scale, reputation, and network to launch amazing products. So I think what we suspected is correct. I think that's very cool. And I think it makes a lot of sense to people who, you know, whilst they are trying to do a lot of stuff themselves, because maybe they're strapped for funds and they want to try to provide that hoodie or that cap or that item, physical product, to enhance the experience of their digital community. I guess what they're positioning themselves as someone who you can partner with to take some of that load off your shoulders.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that is a very, very fair and good assessment.
Which out of these things, Legendary, would we do? Modern market, women's tee, unisex tee, hoodie, or 6-panel cap?
I mean, you're always wearing a cap.
I
Currently,
am.
is it? I mean, the picture as well. Is it Ralph Lauren?
It is.
Yeah, it should be modern market.
Do you know what? Of all the NFT merch that exists, the main thing the only thing I would really like is a cap. And actually, I don't think people are doing caps as much as they do hoodies. If
Everyone does hoodies, yeah.
everyone does a hoodie, I would want a cap instead of everything. But I would love a modern market cap. But this is why I mentioned back in the day, we need like an MM version of the logo, kind of like
Yeah.
the New York Knicks, but the modern market, on
You
top
know
of
what I
each
would
other.
like? That kind of goes back to my finance background.
What?
The typical Patagonia vest
Oh.
with like the MM logo. That I would love.
Okay, well, we're not embroidering all of our clothes with modern market just yet.
Why
Or
not?
maybe let's grow a little bit more first before we start embroidering all of the clothes. But actually, I'm very for embroidery. Maybe that's part of this deal. We'll have to check it out. But in conclusion, it looks very, very cool what 90cc are doing. I guess the current offering, what they have, that's their curated line of ready-to-wear essentials that they've got already. And I assume maybe you can kind of figure out what you need, and they'll help you produce now that they've got that product pipeline. Shiv, welcome to the stage. Your hand is raised. The brilliant host of the Playbook and the Whale Shows and the Iceberg Radio. What's your thoughts on this 9DCC news?
I love the 9DCC stuff they have. I got a couple caps, courtesy of the New York events they did. I got so many G Money stickers,
Nice.
some on my laptop as well. Fun fact, if you are coming to Art Basel and coming to my event, there should be more 9DCC stuff to give out as well. So that'll be fun as well. But also, just want to throw this in there. I think this just got announced that there's a Seals event in London on the weekend, on this Sunday. So if you guys are based in London or close by, come by. It's going to be an art gallery. It's going to be fun. And it's going to be dope.
Man, I'm flying out to London today, actually. That's good. It's good to know.
Let's go.
Interesting. As soon as Legendary is flying in, I am flying out. So I will not be there, Shiv, unfortunately. But I am up for some free 9DCC kit if you'd like to send over, particularly the caps. I'm in the market for caps basically at any time.
Dude, the caps are so good. It also has a chip in it. So you can touch your phone. It's an NFC chip. And you can claim the token as well. And what you can do is other people can also tap it. And the more people that tap and claim that token, it's like a leaderboard. It's like, yo, I have X amount of people that have claimed my token on my cap, whatever it is. And obviously there's a lot of pins that come with it as well. So it's pretty dope.
How do you ask someone in public who doesn't know about NFTs if they would be down to tap your cap so that you can climb on a leaderboard without being extremely obnoxious about that?
Did you ever do that, Shiv?
No, dude. I think besides myself, no one has touched it. Like you have to get your phone tapping the 9DCC, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's a bit awkward because it's on your head.
Well, that's what I was
Like,
thinking. I'm trying to imagine it practically. Like, it sounds cool when you describe it, but when you actually imagine it, like a bunch of people coming around, like clocking you on the head with their phone, it's just like a funny scenario. And then it's like it's not working, and then they're going to be like rubbing their phone across your.
Oh, dude, yeah. A lot of rubbing happens. Hopefully, it's better with the new editions, but it's hilarious.
Okay, well, that is good. That is good. We're drawing to the end of the show now, Legendary. Any final thoughts on the market, on the caps, on the rubbing, any of the above?
Look, I'm glad, I'm relieved that we're drawing to the end of the show before this rubbing discussion and cap tapping intensifies. So nothing to add to that.
Sounds good. Guys, it's been a fantastic discussion. As always, we'll be back tomorrow at the same time, 7 a.m. EST, 12 p.m. GMT. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.